Today we are going over our net worth increases for October 2025 on our pathway to becoming a millionaire. So let's jump into it. So October has been another good month. We're in the green in terms of our net worth change, and let's have a look at how that's broken down. Unfortunately, at the start, the house equity has gone back down. As we can see, the HPI valuation, so the valuation that the similar houses in your area are and how they've fluctuated up and down, has gone down by a few £1,000s back to the 440 that we saw back in June. We only spent 3 months where it went up a little bit, but we're back now to uncertainty, potential changes in the November budget, and so people just being very cautious about that. The property market still being dead now for about over a year. So not ideal, but as long as it's not completely falling down and tanking, I'm not too concerned. I'm expecting this to hold flat for still even another year, but we'll see what happens in the budget. We could have a complete change of how the land tax works, which would change us more to an American system of high property taxes / council taxes every single year, but you would be able to change house a lot easier as you wouldn't have a high percentage of stamp duty. But we have to see how that unfolds. Then we have our stocks and shares ISA, which has gone up another £7,000 this month. We are on an absolutely ridiculous run, which, considering the global uncertainty, it isn't really clear why this is happening, but you can see that over the last 6 months, we've now gone from having about £69,000 invested to £87,000 without adding a single penny more. Just continual gains on this front, which is quite ridiculous. Now for this week, we will jump into a bit more of the details on that and how my portfolio is broken down. So I did initially start with 3 years of putting money into the ISA and essentially just building out a foundation there. So I wanted a mix of everything: global, UK, America, emerging markets, and those kind of things. And I did have a plan for what this year's ISA would be, but given precarious job situations, I decided to put more into premium bonds, as I could use that more as a cash account. So that's just giving me a bit more flexibility, and if my job potentially is made redundant or things happen, then I have a large cash reserve. However, regretting that at the minute, because my plan for the next time I'm invested, now that I've built this foundation, I can add in some more riskier plays. And my entire focus for the next year, maybe 2 years, or £40,000 worth of investment, as I work towards £100,000 invested, was going to be in quantum. That's my big bet for what's next. It's after AI. AI is currently the hype thing. We've already seen Nvidia go through the roof. My big bet is next onto quantum, and it's not going to be the same. It's not going to affect everyone's life, but it is going to solve some really massive challenges that we have and show value in that way. So if I just go a little bit over things, we have our gold in general, which I put about £10,000 in, which over the last 3 years is up 50%. Oh wait, that's the gain, so it's up 150%. So we've made £15,000 simply from the gold and general minerals going up. I do have also £10,000 in emerging markets. I have a US fund, which is about £5,000, and I also have a big few chunks in Vanguard Life Strategy, which is a mix of everything, and US index. Now, some of these funds, like the US fund up here, and then the US 500 stock index, they're going to be tracking very similar accounts, and they're going to have a very similar return, but there is some small deviation there. So you can argue that it's pointless, but it does add some element of difference. Now, in my push for diversifying into quantum and putting a lot into that, I did invest in IBM, which is going to be one of the biggest providers and is already quite a major, obviously, provider of IT equipment and mainframes and servers, and also Microsoft. So these are not ones that if there's a quantum breakthrough, they're going to go to the moon or anything like that, although potentially we could have an Nvidia moment. These are more the safe bets and big players in that space. So I started by putting about £1,000 to £2,000 into these each. The bigger one that I wanted to focus on, and what I'm currently regretting, is D-Wave Quantum. Now, I bought this a couple of months ago, and I put £1,000 into it minus some fees, and from a couple of months, we are up 459%. Now, ironically, if I hadn't put into my premium bonds, I would have put probably I would have made this up to £10,000, and therefore this would be sitting more at a £50,000 gain. So While I am down £50,000, and that's a little bit painful, it is the safer option in terms of my lifestyle and what was happening at the time. So I can't be too mad that I didn't put into this, as it would have left me in a much more risky financial position. And we have to take it for granted that we have made £4,500 on this. Now, given that the market has gone up plenty over the last few months, we do need to take into account that maybe this is a bubble. This is going up very quickly, and at some point there should be a market correction. AI companies are overvalued, and eventually this is going to have a correction. But until then, hopefully we can have some dividends paid out. Maybe we can take some profits. But currently it is really helping with our net worth growth at this current point. Now, moving on, savings account as usual, we just filter a little bit of interest off of that each month, and it is there primarily just as a cash reserve in case any life expenses come up for £5,000. Then we've increased our contribution to premium bonds. We added another £10,000 here over the last month, which again should have been in D-Wave, but and unfortunately no win. However, now that we have £30,000 in there, the probability statistically is that we would win at least one prize every single month, and if we get that up to £50,000, we would statistically win two prizes every single month. Now, this is a lottery where you get your ticket back every single time, and what's interesting is that in October, if we check the winning bonds, someone has managed to pull off quite a feat. So we do have one millionaire winner from Manchester who held £34,000 of bonds, so we're almost up at that level. And the bonds that won, they were just contributed £100 at that time in 2023, and 2 years later they have won £1 million. But even more surprising than that is this lucky individual from Scotland who clearly put £10,000 into premium bonds back in 2022, and since then has not really added anything. I'm going to guess that this £150 has been from the low chance of them winning. They would on average win every 2 months, and so I'm guessing these are £25 prizes that brought their total premium bonds holding up to £10,000. And they have just, after 3 years of putting 10 grand in there and forgetting about it, they have won £1 million. So, you know, potentially we can make up for our loss on quantum by winning on premium bonds, but either way, it's a good place to hold cash and have it easily accessible in case I need it, and with the upside that potentially, maybe, we will get something. And also comparing it to the stock market in general, things do seem to be somewhat up, somewhat down in different areas. There is a lot of red on this screen, but there seems to be a lot of movement every single day. So I wouldn't take a view like this as gospel right now, and just focus on holding steady or adding slowly, and potentially there will be this market correction, and if that happens, and if it happens severely, I might move my money back out of premium bonds, even though I do like to have it there, and be able to dump it into the stocks and shares and buy at a discount. So remember, when we're planning to take our money out in 10, 15, 20 years, a market crash is not a bad thing. It is a discount and it is a flash sale. So we'll take use of that when it comes up. Not too much more then left to say in our net worth review for October, but our pension continues to grow. It generally will every month unless there is a huge stock market correction, as we have the contributions coming from our salary and our employer's contribution. Due to our changes in employment, we now have 2 pensions. So our first one is almost at £30,000, and our first contribution went into our second pension in October, so £300 there, and increasing that retirement fund. Current accounts are down as a reflection of putting extra money into premium bonds, so no concern there, and no change in the vehicles. This brings our total net worth in October to £269,700, and with a net worth increase of £11,400, which is actually the same as last month's. This brings our average net worth increase to £9,500 across the year so far, and by the end of the year, hopefully when we get our commission payments, there was a small one this month, which is why we have a increase in take-home pay and taxable pay, but we have the huge commission payments coming in February and March, and this should take us way over the £10,000 mark in terms of net worth change. Overemployment has been a real game changer. I think I might talk separately on that, but we are now feeling the wealth flow at a level which we haven't before. Again, this stocks and shares ISA, maybe we are going to end up towards the end of the year, depending on the UK budget, having a red marker, I feel like in November or December. we're going to see what it's like, as typically every year I've had either 1 or 2 months where my net worth has decreased. And I feel like if there is a large market correction, that is going to make a huge impact on the ISA, and we will see a red month. But for now, everything's going good. We still haven't invested more into our stocks and shares ISA, but we do have the ability to put an extra £20,000 into there by the end of the year. Student loan is still steadily coming down, and the mortgage debt is also steadily coming down. So total taxable pay for the year so far, £71,000. Our previous record was £96,000 last year. So hopefully if we do receive a take home of about 8,000 within the next 3 months, we should be looking at a number very close to what we made last year, and that would still give us then another further 3 months to go above and beyond that. So excited to see where this year ends. Let me know how your journey is going in the comments, and I'll catch you on the next one.